Just let me know. Be ready.
Yes, sir. There I go. Yep, we're live and both YouTube and Facebook. We're ready.
Hey, have any of you ever wanted to do a mental health or a mentorship program? Well, if that's you and you have some desire to help people, whether it's in a mental health or mentoring space, there are grants available. And this week, we're going to talk about how to get them for you. Um, Mental health and mentorship. The reason I put these two together is because all this comes under the category of behavioral services. And there's a really staunch difference between mental health and mentorship. And in some states, it's illegal to cross that line. And so you want to make sure that you are checking with your local and your state laws to make sure that if you're doing mental health, that you have the proper credentials, that you have the proper licenses. And if not, that's perfectly fine. You can do mentorship and programs just to help people feel supported and change their behaviors. So if you're interested in that, that's what we're going to talk about this week. How you can get the money for your programs that are focused on mentorship or mentoring. Many of you already do mentorship unofficially. I had a mentor that was assigned to me from the church. And as it turns out, my church still never got any funding for it, although the elders and the ministers were required. Well, I shouldn't say required. They did mentor the young folks and the teenagers. My mentor became my godfather, and today he's my best friend. And it all happened because a church decided to assign him to me, and they did it without any funding. How much better would it have been if he could have gotten paid for the time that he spent with me? And he let me drive his car. He was with me today. I got my license. I mean, just all the things that I needed. I would call him, and he would tell me the rules of his house. Don't call me after 9 o'clock. Always speak to my wife. I mean, he taught me lessons like make sure your wife always drives a nice car. I mean, just all kinds of things that pertain to life. This mentor gave me. And so when you think about your program and your heart towards people, maybe you could utilize some funding, grant funding for those mentorship programs so that you don't have to keep doing it out of pocket. All right. I'm Jay Hackett. I'm your grant expert and your grant coach. I've been doing this for about 20 years. My total so far is $107 million. Last week, one of my clients was awarded a $75,000 grant. On Friday, I got awarded a $2,500 grant. It's typical for me to receive grants about once a week. That's typical, and that's because I'm applying for about 10, um, maybe 20 per week. But we're always applying, always applying. And if you're always applying, you're always getting feedback and getting notices. But what I've achieved is not so important, except to know that this $107 million didn't come to me. It came to the people and the organizations that I serve. I'm the owner of an award-winning coffee shop, ranked the number one minority-owned business in Western North Carolina. Also, the fastest-growing company, fastest-growing startup in Asheville, and the third best coffee shop in the state of North Carolina. And so, I'm award-winning coffee shop owner, but I don't drink coffee. And I'm the founder of Black Wall Street, where I support I'm an advised 151 Black-owned businesses across the spectrum. And so, all of that to say that I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. And so, if you have any questions, if you have any questions about your programs, and about how to get them funded, how to get them growing, how to get them involved, how to get them woven into the community, I'm here for it because I've done it. All right. So let's get started. When you look at mentorship programs. So the difference between mentorship and mental health is really the activity, the interventions. So with mental health, you're dealing with folks that have a diagnosis, and it's your job to address those diagnoses. All right. When you're addressing people's diagnosis, that means that they have been assessed by some type of mental health expert, maybe a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a qualified mental health professional. Somebody, a certified somebody has assessed them, and in that assessment, they came up with a diagnosis. That diagnosis has treatment protocols, and you're supposed to follow those. When it comes to funding these programs, you can get funding for the assessment, you can get funding for the staff. In fact, one of the I was looking at the Medicaid rates, and the Medicaid hourly rate for a psychiatrist is 200, like 220, $230 per hour. And so there are some programs that are required to have that psychiatrist, even though the psychiatrist doesn't see anybody except in extreme cases or in the very beginning. So you can imagine how much money is moving in the mental health space. It's because when people have mental health needs, those needs can run really deep. Those needs take time to address, and um, whatever it takes to address them, you end up being responsible for. If your mental health program is a residential program, then you might be responsible for double staff coverage, whether you have one person or 10 people. You're required for double staff coverage. Sometimes the ratio is 1 to 5, or 1 to 6, or 2 to 10. Um, when you have those programs, those grants that support those programs are not going to back off because you have higher needs. You just need to ask for more money. Whether it is a residential program or a day program where people come during the day and leave, or a respite program where people spend weekends, or whether it is an intermittent program or a seasonal program like a summer camp, or a camp over the spring break or the fall break or the Christmas break. These are all different types of mental health programs. You also have outpatient mental health or inpatient mental health. You have mental health programs where a counselor, and I used to do this when I did individual and family counseling, they would come to your house, and they would provide counseling services to the individual and to the young person. All right. So when you have a mental health or a mentorship program, you want to know whatever your requirements are by the state, by the city, by the county, so that you don't get in trouble. All right. So the next thing that you do, well, which is really the first thing, everything else was just introduction. The first thing that you do, you want to start with a needs assessment. All right. And on this needs assessment is where you get a sample of what people need. You can sample the community. You can sample your targeted community. You can sample them just by getting 10 or 20 surveys where people are telling you what they need. You don't have to ask a whole bunch of questions, just as 5 to 7 questions that ask people what they need, what they already have. You don't want to duplicate services. And so this needs assessment is going to prove to be very valuable because when you truncate those numbers and process them, you can come out with a graph or a chart that you can then use to inform your grant applications, and you can attach it. This way, the funding source understands that you've done the groundwork, that you've tested out to see what folks need, and because you understand what they need, the service you're providing is responding to their need. I remember one grant I got denied for. They said we denied you because this service already existed in the community, and the people, according to them, did not need it. But had I done a community needs assessment beforehand, I would have shown them this is what people said they need, and this is what people said that has a gap and is not there right now. All right. So you can do a needs assessment. When you do that needs assessment, you can use a software like SurveyMonkey, to folks can do it online. You can do a QR code, or you can print it out and have people circle and check off boxes. You can go door to door. You can send it to folks on the cell phone, whatever it takes to get feedback. That feedback is critically important. I know there's one grant that was awarded. It was $100,000 planning grant. And in the planning grant, and now hold on. If any of you have any questions, don't let me just go on and you don't get your question answered. If you have any questions, go ahead and write down your questions because I'm going to have a time for question and answer, and I want to answer all of your questions. All right, so there was a planning grant that was awarded by Etsy. I think it was like $100,000. Now, a planning grant is not a project grant. You're not actually doing a project. The planning is the project. And so when you have a planning grant, that is designed to gather information, to get perspectives, and to put it together in a report and eventually a proposal that could get funded. And so planning grants can be, I've seen 1 year planning grants. I've seen 3 year planning grants. You can test out things, pilot things. You can talk about things. And there are some planning grants that result in a new nonprofit organization being started. Some planning grants result in big funding from counties and cities and states. Planning grants, there are some planning grants where they'll give you a planning grant first with the intention that if you do well on this planning grant, we'll give you a project grant. Okay? So don't scoff at planning grants. They're wonderful things. Whether you're a new organization, uh, unorganized and unorganized doesn't mean you are out of order. It just means that you are not incorporated yet. Um, a brand new organization, not yet an organization, a grassroots group, any of that. All right. You want to do a needs assessment, and this grant that came from Etsy, they need feedback from the community, and the feedback that they get is going to go into the report. All right. So when you do this needs assessment, you want to show the funders that you really have an understanding of the problem. You want to gather local data on mental health. You want to gather the data on challenges, depression, anxiety. You want to actually talk to them about trauma rates, and your mentorship gaps should talk about youth that are without guidance, reentry population. Funders want proof. They want proof that your program really does address what's going on. All right. The next thing, number two, you want to define a clear and specific mission. So your general mission is not enough. Now, I want to help the people. No, no, that's not enough. You don't want to help the people. No, you want to avoid goals like I want to help people. Instead, you want to be precise. You want to say things like our program provides mentorship for teens dealing with anxiety by pairing them with trained community leaders. Something specific. Specificity attracts funding. All right. Number three, you want to build strong community partnerships. Now, that community partnership work starts now. It should have started yesterday. If you're just starting now, it's too late. There are agencies that are already serving your population. Connect with them. There are agencies that will serve your population in the future. Connect with them. If interacting with your program becomes the turning point, your connection need to be the folks they dealt with before, the folks they deal with during, and the folks they dealt with after. All right. Connect with schools, clinics, churches, nonprofits, and local governments. So funders love to see collaboration because it reduces the duplication of services and it increases the impact. And you're going to have to get letters of support from these partners so that they can strengthen your grant application. Letters of support from partners will strengthen your grant application. All right. Number four, you want to design evidence-based programming. Now, evidence-based programming is very critical. And when I did the research on evidence-based program, at the time I was running a very small program, and I found that evidence-based practice only needed 100 participants to become evidence-based. And if it was studied with a control and variables, it can be evidence-based practice. If you don't already have evidence-based practice, you can identify an evidence-based practice for what you do. For example, the Oxford House model is an evidence-based practice. Okay, the National Institute of Recovery Residents, National Association of Recovery Residences, that is a evidence-based practice. If you are using a peer support model, that is the evidence-based practice. All right. Evidence-based practices are all around. There's no shortage of them, but you want to incorporate these approaches that are already proven to work. Now, if you are writing a federal grant, they're going to tell you what type of evidence-based practices they expect to see. All right. They're going to tell you that. And when they tell you, you can choose to use them or not. My encouragement is if it's a federal program, you want to use it. All right. Because they've already researched it and that's what they're expecting to see. Cognitive behavioral therapy based group sessions, that is the evidence based practice. Trauma informed care is evidence based. Peer support is evidence based. All right. They're all around. You just have to utilize them. And when you're writing your grants, you want to talk about this evidence based practice. Funders are more likely to invest in programming that use methods hacked and backed by research. They want you to use stuff that works. Number five, prioritize inclusion and accessibility. Prioritize inclusion and accessibility. So you want to show how your program will serve the underserved populations. You want to show that. You want to show that we are serving low income, rural, BIPOC, LGBTQIA, veterans, homeless, etc. Equity and access are high priorities in most current programming and grant making. In fact, there are two huge foundations came together to fund programs that the government had removed funding from. I think it was PBS and NPR. They were receiving yearly lots of funding from the federal government, but when the federal government cut them off, um, there are two foundations that gave them like $58 million because the government had removed their funding. These organizations stepped in. One of my clients right now, um, I'm thinking more about fast track funding and how I can get funding into the hands of my people faster. And so I found this, I located this foundation. They specialize in gap funding, which means that if you're doing one thing and you have a shortage of money, they will just, outside of their normal grant process, they will just fund the gap. If you ask for 100,000 and you only have 60, they'll give you the other 40. All right. This is because funders prioritize inclusion and accessibility. All right. Next, you want to develop a mentorship model that scales. All right. Whether it is a one on one, a group mentoring, or a peer to peer, you want to design it in a system that can grow. If the thing is so unique that it cannot grow, it will not be attracted to funders. They'll wonder if we give you this money, it's going to stop with you, it's going to stop with these people. But if you can explain how this system is scalable and has, even though we're only serving 50 people this year, it has the potential to serve 100 or 200. If we can duplicate and hire more staff, we can expand this and grow it exponentially because we have a system. You want to show the funders that you have a system that can grow. Funders want to see that their money can create long-term impact beyond the pilot phase. All right. That's what they want to see. All right. Number seven, you want to track your outcomes from day one. I don't care if you have one person enrolled, make sure you have all their demographics, their age, sex, race, ethnicity, income level, zip code, all of that. Get all of the information you need early on because those outcomes are going to benefit you later on. All right. There are some grants that are set aside for low to moderate income people, but if you don't have an income metric, then you won't know whether you qualify or not. And if you think you qualify but you have no documentation, then you don't qualify because if it's not documented, it didn't happen. But when you have good outcomes, you qualify for more. And the only way to have good outcomes is to have good input. So track your outcomes. If there are improvements in their mental health scores, improvement in graduations rate, a reduction in hospital visits, employment gains, lower unemployment rate, whatever it is, you want to track the progress. I remember we had a grant from the Department of Labor, and the grant was actually supposed to be helping people get employment uh, after our construction program. Well, get employment from our construction program. And so the technical assistance person came down to evaluate our program and to help us. Um, and she looked and she said, "Well, you don't have any people that are working." And we said, "Well, no, they're working. They're just not working on construction programs." And she said, "Well, the way the department looks at this, if they're working at McDonald's, still count it because them working is all that matters to us. Now, we do want to evaluate the rate of pay and, try to get them a living wage, but something is better than nothing." So she was saying that we need to count all of our outcomes, even if it wasn't the most desired outcome. They got a job, they're in school, they're working on their GED. Count all of it. All right. And that's what you want to do. You want to count all of it. Sometimes I was looking at it like, the job at McDonald's was not as good as the job as a truck driver. But to them, a job is a job is a job. And so that taught me a lesson. I want you all start counting your outcomes from day one. And you don't really need any money to track your outcomes. You just need to right now take the people that are in your program and just do a survey and ask for some demographic data. Ask them what worked, what didn't work, what they would like to see more of, and start tracking that outcome. All right. All right. Funders want measurable results, not just good intentions. They don't just want to see good intentions. They want to see positive results. Okay. Number eight, leverage volunteers and in-kind support. Many grants require matching funds. Matching funds is saying you need a 25% match. So if we give you 100,000, you need to come up with the other 25. Okay. Leverage volunteers, leverage the in-kind support. They want to see that. They want to see that you have counted it and that it's included. This is also something that you can include in your letters of support. Many grants require matching funds. So you can count your volunteer hours. That actually translates into a dollar amount based on the GSA annually. Um, You want to document your donated spaces. If people let you use the space for free, make sure they document it and zero it out. If it's donated, that's fine, but it did have a dollar value, and that dollar value actually calculates as match and in-kind support. It goes on your budget to show how much support you've gotten, which helps you pass the public support test. All right. Or pro bono services. There was one accounting firm that gave our organization pro bono accounting services for 1 year. They took their pro bono budget and assigned it to us, and every 3 months, every quarter, they would send us an invoice, and the invoice would be zeroed out as a donation. This makes your proposal stronger without needing lots of cash up front. Number nine, seek multiple funding streams. This is probably the biggest one, I guess, outside of number 10. But a lot of people say, I need a grant, I need a grant, I need a grant. You don't ever need one grant. You need at least 10. All right. So don't rely on one grant. Blend them all. You need government grants. You need foundation grants. You need corporate sponsorships. You need community fundraising activities. You need large money and small money and big money and little money. You need $5 donors and $5 million donors. I was in one meeting and they said that there's a foundation that we wanted the foundation to give our city some money, and they said that this foundation doesn't give money to small cities like ours. They only give money in cities that have 500,000 people or more. Our city is not big enough to go after certain funds. Like there's a lot of money out there. So when you think of government grants for mental health or mentorship programs, you're thinking of SAMHSA, HHS, HRSA, or DOJ. You're also looking at DOL, Department of Labor, Department of Justice. All right. You're looking at foundations. This includes your local and national foundations. You're looking at corporate sponsorships. This is all the retailers like Walmart and Target and Chick-fil-A. This also include banks. All right. You're also looking at community fundraising activities. When you have events and you have peer-to-peer giving and you have rallies and walkathons and boating and giving circles, all of that counts. All right. And when a funding source sees that you have a mixture, in fact, there's this new question that's on a lot of grant applications talking about sustainability. When they ask you the sustainability question, you want to tell them directly, we have, in order to sustain our program, we have a diverse funding plan that includes government grants, foundations, corporate sponsorships, community fundraising activities. You want to say that almost verbatim and put it in every grant. All right. Diverse funding base attracts donors and it shows sustainability. And then the last thing for your mental health and your mentorship program, tell stories, not just statistics. It's more attractive and it's more sticky to tell a story. Numbers prove impact, but stories create connection. When you write about a story, and you can't be long, you just need to break it down to 2 or 3 sentences. And if you can attach a number to it, oh, you knocked it out of the park. All right. Numbers prove impact, but stories create connection. You want to connect with the reader. All right. You want to share testimonies of how the mentorship or the mental health support changed somebody's life. Funders want both the heart and the head reasons to give you money. They want heart reasons to give. They want head reasons to give. And when you can do that, you position your program to be funded. If it's a mental health or a mentorship program, you can get funded if you do these 10 things. I'm going to repeat them uh, just so y'all can get it, and then we'll take a couple of questions. All right. Number one, you want to start with a needs assessment. Number two, You want to define a clear, specific mission. Number three, build strong community partnerships. Number four, design an evidence-based program. All right. And if you don't already have one, you can choose one that already exists. All right. You want to prioritize inclusion and accessibility. Identify the underserved population you're working with. You want to develop a mentorship model that scales, something that can be duplicated. Number seven, you want to track outcomes from day one. Number eight, you want to leverage volunteers and in-kind support. Number nine, you want to seek multiple funding streams. Never rely on one grant. And then number 10, you want to tell stories, not just statistics. All right. Man, I think I'm a minute over, but I'll make time for two questions if you all have them. Y'all have any questions?
Hello, Dr. Hackett. This is Sarita Eldridge. I do have a question.
Hmm.
I'm offering a mental health, I guess it's a class, and I'm still finding it quite difficult to get participants. Should I start? Everyone says that it's very difficult to fill something that you're giving away for free. So should I go back and charge something?
Yes, you do. You do attract a different type of client and clientele when you have a cost. But the success that I've found with filling up seats, put a cost on it, but also go to partners, go to other agencies that need you. There are
Okay,
other agencies that need what you're doing, and your work is to identify them. So you're going to have to be a little more unique. So if you go to the homelessness shelter and you offer them, "Hey, I have a mental health program," they might say they already have a mental health program. But you may go and say, I have a mental health program that's specifically for women escaping domestic violence. So now you have something unique. Or I have a mental
okay,
health program for young men that are getting out of gang violence, or for people that used to be incarcerated. The more you can specify, the more attractive you can be.
okay.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? All right. I'm putting together um this special this week for folks. Um, I know there were a lot of people that could not afford the software, and so I said, well, what if I just did like some small kind of quick launches? And so I'm putting together how I can help people get like 5 grants in 50 minutes. So I'm thinking about that. I'll have it more worked out on Wednesday. But if that's something that y'all think would be attractive, y'all let me know. Let me know what you think. Um, this is locating the grants and writing them, because time is of the essence, and the floodgates are opening. This is the fall grant season. August is active right now and almost over. September is coming, which means that your community economic development office grants are open and available. And then your local civic organization grants and your hospital grants and your energy company grants, all of those are coming available. And lots of people miss it simply because they don't know about them. And so I'm planning that. I'll have it all worked out by Wednesday. Well, I'm really going to have it worked out by today, but I'll have it packaged up by Wednesday. Y'all let me know what you think about it, and if that would be something helpful. All right. All right, y'all. Well, y'all take care, and I'll see y'all later. I'll see y'all on Wednesday as we take the next step in getting your mentorship program or your mental health program funded with grants. Bye bye.